In this video, we're going to take a look at a brown ink by Sailor, their Kobe number 22. Now, as always, there's timestamps down below so you can skip around, but if you've got the time, I'd appreciate you checking out the entire video. Also, down in the description is a link to the brown ink playlist, so if you wanted to see more, you could find that there. I'm an ink guy. Let's get into the first writing sample done on 90 GSM Clairfontaine. No bleeding, no ghosting. We have no feather, spread, halo sheen, not a lot of shading in the stub, very nice shading in the extra fine and in the medium. They both look absolutely fantastic. They're both lighter than the stub. The extra fine took 7 seconds to dry while the medium took 13. Scrubby for both show good color variation because it's there, and the smear test I don't think you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. To have a range of experience with this ink, all of the writing samples are done with a Jinhao 159 with a 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a medium, and a Jinhao X750 with an extra fine. Then a Pilot Custom 823 with a broad nib was inked up, used for a day, and used to take the notes for this video. The next writing sample is done on 52 GSM Tomoe River. No bleeding, no ghosting. We have no feather, spread, halo sheen. I'm going to say almost no shading, but there is shading in the extra fine. It's certainly there, and there's certainly there in the medium. Now, it's very gentle in and out. So if you look at the word quick and you look at the word over in the extra fine, very different. And when you really look at it, you see the shading difference that occurs. Not to mention how you see it with brown over lazy in the medium. Now, the extra fine and the medium are the same tone, much lighter than the stub. Extra fine took 14 seconds to dry while the medium took 20. Scrubby for both do show some color variation, but it's much better in the writing, and the smear test I do not think you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. I agree with Vita. There's a lot to learn by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. A line of ink is put down, and then it's put into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And you see this very light kind of turquoise spots that are occurring at the very bottom of this. Really where that line was put down, it's just barely there. Now, as you move up, you see the yellows, you see an orange, a little bit of a brown, and then this great green. Now, I don't believe that brown to be its own dye. I believe we're looking at orange and green mixing at that point, and the yellow is what helps to bring in some highlights there. Now, the one on the right is let dry for 10 minutes before it's put into water. And the most noticeable difference is that little bit of turquoise line at the bottom is a little stronger in place. So you might expect just a little bit of resistance with this ink, but I'm not counting on it. The next writing sample is done on 80 GSM Rhodia dot pad. No bleeding, no ghosting. We get no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade in the stub, nice in the extra fine, nice in the medium. The extra fine and medium are the same tone, both lighter than the stub. Extra fine took 9 seconds to dry while the medium took 14. Scrubby for both show good color variation, and it's there in the writing, and the smear test you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. It's just going to take a little bit of effort. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink could be expected to perform on a page, and more importantly, how hard it may be to clean from your pen. The smear is allowed to dry for 3 days before testing it. A lot of head bob going on here. Looking at the highlighter, it generally performs fairly well. It does get a little bit woolliness in the lowercase h, but you can fully read everything that's there, which means if you wanted to, you could use it if you needed to go back and highlight. Now, water, surprisingly, I really expected a lot more of this to move. It really only lightened it up. A lot of it is very much there. And the same thing happened with pen flush. It's really only lightening it up a whole lot. You do see on the very top part of it where it's getting much thinner, but it's still very there on the paper. The 1/3 bleach solution is completely removing it, though discoloring the paper some. But it only took water to get this out of my pen. The next writing sample is done on yellow Rhodia paper. This is done not to see any kind of performance change, but really to be able to look at the tone variation that we're going to get. And I was expecting quite a bit more tone variation based on the chromatography, and I was wrong. This is a very opaque ink. It's unaffected by the yellow paper at all, which is great when you like this tone of this brown. Very interesting in that. I mean, I really did. I expected some sort of change because of that yellow looking at just, wow. Huh. For the inks tested, the average viscosity was 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Sailor Kobe number 22 has a viscosity of 1.28, making it quite possibly one of the wettest inks that I've tested. If you're interested in how the viscosity test is done, then there's a link to that video down in the description. Let's take a look at the next writing sample done on life paper. No bleeding, no ghosting. We have no feather, spread, halo sheen, great shading in the stub, in the extra fine, and in the medium. Now the extra fine is way lighter than the stub. I actually think it's just a little too light for me. The medium is just a bit darker than the extra fine, putting it in a perfect spot. Little lighter than the stub still. The extra fine took 7 seconds to dry while the medium took 9. Scrubby for both show good color variation, and it is definitely there. And the smear test, you might be able to recover if you smeared while you were writing. Maybe. For the inks tested, the average dry time was 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Sailor Kobe number 22 has an average dry time of 13 seconds, putting it right on the edge, but still normal. The last writing sample is done on Levenger paper. No bleeding, no ghosting. We have no feather, spread, halo sheen, great shading in the stub, great shading in the medium, really good shading in the extra fine. The extra fine's a lot lighter than the stub, while the medium's darker than the extra fine, still lighter than the stub. Extra fine took 5 seconds to dry and the medium took 9. Scrubby for both shows some color variation. It's better in the writing, and the smear test, you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. Instead of finding inks that look like Sailor Kobe's number 22, I'd prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. I decided to draw no attention away from this gorgeous ink and went with a black ink by Noodler's, their Borealis Black. Now if you'd prefer a different complement color, then down in the description are links to those playlists. So what do I think of Sailor Kobe number 22? I love the shading and the look of this ink in its entirety. It's so well behaved. I have no fear over what pen I put this in. So what nib and pen will give the best writing experience with this ink? Without a doubt, this is dealer's choice. I really do enjoy its dark tone that you get from a very wet pen, even without the shading. And from a medium or dry pen, you get great tones and amazing shading the whole way. I hope you got something out of this video, and in the next video, we're going to take a look at KWZ's Green Gold 2.